not, I can do it.
Yeah, I can pray.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here together and discuss the topics of this week's lesson once more. And we're grateful for all the time that Brother Castillo has put into this class. And please help us to take advantage of it and to learn a lot from the discussion that we have today, and to be prompt and be productive. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So let's just talk about the case study with Barbara Norris and like what kind of issues she was facing at the general surgery unit.
Well, she bit off a lot.
Yeah.
I'll give her that.
Yeah.
Walking into a big mess.
She had a lot of ambition.
Yeah. I think one of her main problems was that the administration just, like, they expected her to work miracles with nothing. That's kind of what I was thinking when I read through it.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it.
So on top of that, how do you guys think that she did in that first month?
I thought she did pretty well. I mean, she got everybody together except for people that were on shift and let them air out whatever they needed to.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the most important things that needed to happen before anything else could happen. So I thought she was, doing the best she could with what she had, for sure.
Yeah. I think once you start communicating with people, then you're able to, I don't know, just once you start communicating, trust starts to build. And I feel like trust was a big problem there as well.
Yeah, as soon as you would come back to the plane where you walked in.
Do you guys think she was a good choice for the position? Or do you think there'd be someone more qualified or who had more experience with managing than just a lot of experience in nursing? What do you think?
I think she was probably well qualified. I mean, I don't know that she wasn't qualified. She obviously has a good knowledge of the position, and I'm sure her MBA program helped her out. But yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, she's it's an impossible task to right the ship right away. I mean, she'd only been there a month, so it's going to take. I mean, with the personalities that she had to work with, that's going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
So, and I think she's doing a good job.
It's going to take a lot of buy-in or an economic turnaround for things to get better before. I mean, definitely not a month, but she's on the right track.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems was like you said, the economy. Like the whole hospital was like downsizing, and they didn't give like people time off, and they weren't hiring, and I feel like that just affected everybody, like on edge.
That's a great point, Andres. We were like all blaming the hospital, and really it's not even hardly their fault either. It's just the economy. Like, you can't help it.
Yeah. That's a good point. What do you guys think? Like, what was her goal that you could tell from the reading? What kind of change was she trying to make, I guess? I think Jonathan hit on it a little bit, just like, letting them air out, letting people be heard instead of just kind of gritting it out in the rough economic climate.
Yeah, because I mean,
part of it.
The people working there know that the economy's bad, and so, I mean, I'm sure they're grateful to have a job when others don't. And letting people be heard. I mean, that was part of that was one of their complaints, right? Like nobody was listening to them.
Yeah.
Somebody that comes in right away and be like, all right, tell me everything that's on your mind. And too bad she didn't ask them how they wanted to fix it. I know when I've been in that position, I'm like, if you're going to bring problems, like bring at least one potential solution.
I think she's trying to get something similar to what she experienced before with her past supervisor. She seems to really admire her past supervisor, Betty. And like she talks about like how like they had a culture of like helping each other instead of like the culture that they have currently. So I think that's what she's trying to get.
Yeah, trying to change the culture. I like that. So this is kind of a weird question. I've been reading over a little bit. I'll just read it slowly and tell me if it doesn't make sense to you. What are 3 obstacles to affecting change Nora should anticipate, and how should she address them? So I guess what are 3 obstacles in her way?
I think one of the big ones is kind of status quo, or everyone's been doing the same thing for the longest time, and no one really wants to make the effort to change. I think there's, like Kamisa said, there's the whole culture as well. The culture is a big thing, and the culture is one of not helping one another out, not being a cohesive team. It's kind of working on your own, and so that's a hard thing to instill in people. Is a willingness to work as a team and not be selfish. So those are a couple things that I think the huge problem she's facing.
So how do you think she should address that?
I think,
I mean, that's probably huge.
One of the things I've seen work well and like to build a team is kind of develop a mentorship program. Like there was the mention of the older lady who's been there for 30 years get mad because, the younger people are asking too many things. I think if she took ownership of being a mentor to that person, she wouldn't be so angry or so unwilling to help. I think when people are asked to be a mentor, they kind of, take that personally and take it to heart and want to help that person succeed. So that's one of the things I think that could be instilled there in the hospital.
Oh, that's really good.
Another thing that she's going to face is just a lack of money. Can't really hire anybody. And so that won't show. It'll be tough to alleviate some of the other problems they have, like filling in when people are sick. Can't offer overtime. I mean, people, especially in that industry, they love overtime. And so she's just gonna have to find unique ways to, I guess, get around it. If that makes any sense. Just scheduling differently, getting people to buy in on coming in on days off and things like that. So maybe do like I know in my work, like you have flex time where you can kind of change your schedule up a little bit. You have comp time where if you come in one day, you can be off the next, stuff like that. So stuff that doesn't cost money, but still gives the illusion of all that stuff. So
Right.
it's a thought.
So you're saying like give non-monetary compensation, but still something that would be something to look forward to, kind of.
Yeah. So like for example, if someone has to work like 3 straight 12-hour shifts, I mean, give them an opportunity that, like, if they covered somebody else's shift, like they'll comp them for it, meaning like they don't have to come in another time.
Okay.
If that makes sense, but still.
Well, that's a great idea.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So okay, when I was reading through it, they were talking about how like you've got the drive to acquire, and it's not necessarily like the drive to acquire monetary things or financial gain. And it made me think about how when my dad was working at this car manufacturing facility, they had parking spots located near the entrance, and they would reserve them for whoever was employee of the month. And then like um, she talked about how like Betty, when Betty was in charge of the past place, like the nurses would have lunch together and do things outside of work together. And so it made me think of something that you see in the construction industry a lot is the general contractor, when they have really good quality or really good safety for a while, they'll cater lunch for all the subcontractors. And like you should hear the professors talk about it. They're like, yeah, morale goes up, productivity goes up, like everything just like goes so much better, and it's relatively little cost for how much better things go. And if they can't hire new people, then that might be the way to kind of get past the whole like we're always behind, we're always running late sort of feeling.
Yeah.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I had never even. Both of your guys' comments made me realize there's a lot of alternatives there. That's cool.
Yeah, like for example, at my work, for holidays, they have one huge holiday meal, and there's like 1,000 people that work in the building I work in, and so they have all the upper management down serving the food, and you just go in shifts, and like it's cool to see. I mean, see your bosses feeding you lunch.
Yeah.
And so it's not so yeah, stuff like that that aren't huge costs, and definitely make headway with people.
Yeah, for sure.
I think another little problem, probably not as big as the last two, was that she said they weren't really keeping like the performance reviews up to date, and I think she like has to start from ground zero again and like start like keeping an order to those things because it's really important.
Why do you think that's an issue? Why is that important?
I mean, like for her, like for example, she came in and then she had nothing to like, oh, this employee needs more help than this person, or like kind of if she ever like goes away, then the next person doesn't have to like start all over. And
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a really good point.
Then piggybacking on that, people definitely like to know how they're doing, especially like year-end reviews. Like my work, we just got done with year-end reviews, and a lot of that's tied in with like pay increases and recognition. I mean, people either want to be recognized or they want to be paid more, and so, like for example, at my work, once a quarter. Your coworkers we nominate each other for what they call recognition of the individual, and so there's 4 awards that are given out once a quarter. So there's only 12 people in the building that get them, and so if you get them, it's a really big deal. But it's something that your peers nominate you for, so it's just a nice way of recognizing hard work. So some of those people that work really hard and think that they're by themselves, like that lady been working there a long time, like just didn't think like anybody cared or was paying attention to what she was doing. So those are easy ways and cheap ways to kind of get around that.
That's cool. I like that it's from your peers, and so kind of like unifying, but it's also kind of relieving any kind of tension or competitiveness, I guess, from the situation. That's cool. That was quick, Aaron. That was real quick.
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem. So let's just move on to the next one here. So we've kind of talked about like I said, like a few different problems and a few different unrelated solutions that she could come up with. But the next question here is advise an action plan for Norris, and what are some specific parts of that plan? It's like steps she needs to take, kind of like just what we put into our case studies.
So I I thought that a mentorship program would work really well, like somebody else was talking about earlier. And so when I did it, I had it like the older nurses and the younger nurses together. But then also if they could get some of those, they can't do overtime, so they've been getting those floater RNs or whatever they call them, and they've been pulling them in, and they've been complaining about the quality of care when they come in. So if they could get them in with some training of some sort, then they wouldn't have so much trouble like transitioning over as well. So I thought that would work out well. And then it might also be a good way to pull in recognition too, because if you get hired to do a training, or like you get asked to do a training, then like it must be that you're pretty good at it. So you're getting like formal recognition that you're good at your job. So I thought that would help as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I think an important thing, and I don't know if this has been brought, but the annual review process needs to get back on board, and she needs to set very defined and specific goals for her team. Instead of being vague, goals, she needs to sit down and individualize what it is that she's expecting of each person to accomplish throughout the year or 6 months, whatever that process is, and then hold them accountable to that. They can, a lot of the, review processes, your annual increases are very dependent on those. And so, once it's tied to money, then people start to really value those and pay attention to those reviews. And so I think that's one of the things that I talked about quite a bit, was really getting that back on track to where it actually meant something.
Yeah, Andres, you mentioned that a little bit before. Yeah, I think that's definitely a huge part. Something that I thought would be important is kind of to gain the trust of the people under her, and like let them know she's willing to go to bat for them and she's on their side. Is like the next meeting she has with the directors, make sure to negotiate some kind of either an extra nurse or secretary, or like use that FTE money to just win them something to make things a little bit easier on them. And that way they'd kind of realize that she knows what she's doing, and she can really help them out. And I think that'd just bring them together a little bit more.
Yeah, I think she also needs to go to bat with the chief of staff. I mean, go meet with the chief of staff and go to bat for nurses, because there's a general, I guess they just don't value them, the doctors. And, I think that's probably pretty prevalent across the board, across all hospitals and healthcare. There's a bit of an arrogance that comes with doctors. And I think that needs to be addressed and concerned, because that's demoralizing them quite a bit.
I feel like if you don't feel like there's anybody on your side or like seeing it from your point of view, then like you said, very demotivating. So they need to feel like she's on their side and she's willing to fight for them.
Yeah.
So if you think back at that article that came along with the case study, there's those 4 different drives. And we've definitely been over the drive to acquire with like the compensation and everything. Here's one that we haven't really been able to touch on yet, the drive to defend. Does anybody kind of remember what that one is about?
So I noticed that one, and I was trying to, like, the way I organized it in my paper was like go through all of them. And the one nurse brought up that like she has to decide what care to give her patients, and she'd really like to not have to do that. And so like she wants to defend her patients. And then I think you could also kind of stretch it and say she wants to defend her how she feels about herself and like herself, because when you're not doing a good job and you don't have the resources to do a good job. And so I think the whole mentorship and training thing would go well along with that, because
Okay.
when you teach other people how to take care of the people correctly, you're defending them and their families better.
Mhm. Okay, I definitely see that. I can see how that kind of camaraderie that would come with just getting to know the person you're working with, learning from, or teaching would kind of just bring you together. Make you kind of want to defend the group as you come closer as a group through that mentorship. I can see that. Anybody have any other parts of their case study they want to bring up as part of the plan she should carry out?
I'm good.
Yeah, mine's kind of the same, just like
Okay. Yeah.
mentors and stuff.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
good. I mean,
Oh.
you guys have. It's nice to know that everyone's, for the most part, on the same page with how to handle the situation. So I'm good.
Okay, sweet. Well, we kind of flew through those beginning questions real quick, but I don't feel like we left any gaps in there. So we can just wrap it up right there if you guys don't have any other thoughts or anything else you want to add.
No, it's kind of an easy week.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's March Madness. Let's go watch basketball games.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for
Have a
doing
good
this,
one.
Elliot.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Elliot.
Who's
See you
got
guys next
next
week.
week?
Oh,
Do we know?
Is it me? Because I never got the sheet saying who was supposed to be running each meeting.
I'll look
I
it up
think-
real quick.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it is you, Kamisa.
Oh,
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
awesome.
All right. We'll
Okay,
see you
thanks,
See you guys
guys.
next week.